Does tossing off mean the same in the US?
Yes,
as in
it
the
does.
UK?
It does. Yes, it does. But that's not quite what I
No, I've slaughtered
Okay.
it. Totally slaughtered it. Putting words in his mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically telling Death to piss off.
Do one.
Do one. That's right. You said do one.
Hey, who do you guys want in the next round? Do you want an easy matchup, or do you want another world beater?
I wouldn't mind. I'll tell you what.
Juventus.
I tell you what.
When's the draw, Vass? Do you know?
1st of December, Simon.
Okay.
So 1st of December we get that draw. We have Applewell to play. I expect.
No, it can't be the 1st of
Oh,
December.
sorry. No,
Yeah,
no, it's not. You know what?
It's the end of that. It's the end of the week of the last round.
Yeah. I was thinking of the World Cup draw. Apologies. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's just as exciting. Not to Tim, but to Ken.
Yeah, it is. Come on, you guys.
But who do you guys want? I mean, I can tell you, for me, it seems like we play up to our competition. So if you get a side that's coming out of a weakened group, that's the second seed. I mean, I don't know if we'll perform as well against them as we would, if you. Someone's going to get like PSG or Barcelona or Juve. One of these teams is going to finish second in their group, and I think I'd rather have them. Just because we seem to up our game when we play against that type of competition. I feel if we get a weakened side, that we're going to drop, our mentality is going to drop, and we're just not going to perform that well, and we could see ourselves going out.
So there are a couple of things at play here. First of all, maybe, Tim, you can look at this while I yabber on a little bit. Who currently, based on match day 5, is likely to finish second in the groups that obviously are not English clubs that we could potentially be drawn against? And then to Tim's point about us playing up against these big clubs, and you've seen it this week. Whether we want to still say Dortmund are a big club, based on how they're playing recently, that's debatable. But you got to look at where we are, and I think I made some rant on our members' Facebook page last night about this after yesterday's match. You got to kiss the Premier League goodbye. I know we haven't seen City play today, but they're at Huddersfield, and I'm thinking that's going to be a close one for them. But they're just running away with it right now, and we're in danger today of slipping to 5th if either Burnley or Arsenal win that game. And we got a lot of matches coming up. December's 6 Premier League games, I believe. It's going to really separate the pack come the New Year's matches. And I just think this is going to put a lot of pressure on us to perform really, really well in these last 2 tournaments that we're in. And obviously, that next round in the Champions League is going to be critical if we want to see us win something this season. I know I bang that drum. Seems like I do it every week on the podcast, but how much longer are we going to continue to progress and improve, but have nothing to show for it at the end of the day? So, Tim, did you see who's currently lying in second, likely to finish second?
Well, yeah. So I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier, is because you have Barcelona and Juve in the same group. So one of those teams is going to be take the second spot. You could draw them, same as PSG and Bayern Munich. They're in the same group as well. So finishing the top of your group doesn't mean you're not going to face a hard team. You could draw one of those. I think I'd rather have them against, other options would be the United group. Its second seed is going to be between Basel and CSKA Moscow. The other one could be between Sevilla and Spartak Moscow. Shakhtar Donetsk is going to finish second in their group. So, I mean, you could be playing Spartak, Shakhtar, CSKA. I'd rather play against Bayern or Juve, I think, than one of those clubs.
So those other teams will be like playing in the Europa League again, won't you?
Well, I tell you what, one of the interesting things that to take note of is that all 4 Premier League teams are leading their groups. Chelsea is the only one that has an opportunity to bottle this unless United completely fall flat on their face. They have a 3-point lead and a 4-goal difference lead going into match day 6. Chelsea 2 points ahead of Roma. That could still turn on its head. We'll see what happens with that Group C. But you have Roma and Atletico Madrid that are behind Chelsea. You have Bayern Munich, who are behind PSG, Basel and CSKA Moscow, as Tim alluded to, Juventus and Sporting. I don't see Juventus bottling that, but you never know. They're not the same prospect this year. Anyway, the thing that to note is that when I look up and down this table, the only two teams I don't want to play are City and PSG. I think we can beat everybody else. Even Barcelona.
Well, we'll certainly compete. We'll certainly compete with everybody else. Yeah. I don't know about Barcelona. Certainly, I wouldn't. If we had to get one of those big names, then Juventus would be a great tie for us. I'm not saying that we would definitely get through, but we'd certainly have a good chance.
And I think one of the things you need to reflect back on is last time we finished top of our group in our debut season in the Champions League, we faced AC Milan in the first round, and I know they're not the team they used to be, but back then they were still a damn fine team, and we went and got a great result at the San Siro, and who knows if Crouch had stayed on the pitch, what would have happened in the Madrid game. I mean, they were still very good back then, and I'm sure it would have probably ended up in a similar result with less goals. But you got to face them at one point. We've already played two big teams 4 times, so I agree. It's bring them on, and if that does encourage us to step up and play our best game, then that's where we're going to go. So Vass, let me ask you the question I posed, knowing that the Premier League is more than likely a lost cause. Do we really go all out in Champions League, or is it just a bridge too far for us right now?
I think we should go all out for it. I know it's going to be really, really hard. Do not get me wrong. But listen, when did Liverpool win it? Was it 05 or 06 or something? I can't remember now. But
05 against.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, the team we've got now, I think, is on a par with that Liverpool team, and all you need is a bit of luck along the way as well, surely. So it's a cup competition once it gets to the knockout stages, so you never know. I think we should go for it. I think we need to take the FA Cup seriously, and I just need to understand where. Of course, we'd love to win a trophy. Don't get me wrong. I will be the happiest bunny on earth if we win a trophy, but where did all this pressure come from to win a trophy? See, the media start this narrative of Spurs have to win something now. Before we were barely challenging for Champions League or struggling to get into Champions League. And then within about 3 seasons, we're suddenly either expected to win the Premiership or win a trophy as a given because it hasn't happened for a while. Now, there's only one team can win each trophy, and there's only 4 trophies, including the Champions League. And this constant message that's getting banged about in the media that's now being adopted by our fans, and all of a sudden the pressure's on to win a trophy, it's just become almost nonsensical. Of course you want to win trophies, all teams do. But, if you don't, Alex Ferguson took 4 seasons to win his first trophy. 4. He was on the verge of the sack, and then he built a dynasty. But perhaps fans were more patient back in the 90s or whatever it was. Yeah.
Vass, you're saying it's being started by the media and adopted by the fans, but I'm not sure about that. It may be the other way around, because I've seen many fans that have started it before the media catches on to it. So, I mean, which came first, the chicken or the egg on this one?
Well, I suppose maybe it could be a mixture of the two. Tim.
I mean, there is that one faction of our fan base that I could see starting it before the media, and you've seen it. All they talk about is we need a trophy or Poch is out. And that's just not the case.
That's just nonsense.
I think to Vass's point, that's nonsensical. I think that we've talked about that the boardroom, the manager, and the coaching staff don't give a flying fat rat's ass about what any of the fans, media, or anybody else says. They don't follow social media in that way, and it just does not matter to them. So the only person that Poch has to impress with his annual output is Daniel Levy and the board. That's it.
Well,
if their expectation is trophies, then he'll go all out for a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup and start somewhere, as we've kind of alluded to. Are we going to go out and win Champions League? Probably not. Let me just say that. Probably not. But if we do what we did our first go-around and make it to the quarters, get through this next group and make it to the quarters and maybe somehow make it to the semis, is that enough? To make it to the semis in Champions League, would you not have gnawed anyone else's arm off, including your firstborn child, to say semifinals of Champions League? Hell yes. I don't know what the money is for that. It's got to be huge.
Yeah, but logic goes out the window, Ken. And whilst you're right, Pochettino only has to impress Daniel Levy, and they have got a much longer-term strategy than we fans will ever have.
Yep.
He runs the risk of the masses getting restless, and when the masses get restless, people act in a way that may not be the way that they would normally act. I think fan base is almost acting as if we deliberately got knocked out the Carabao Cup, just because Pochettino said what he said about the order he ranks the trophies in. I mean, he put out a side that was good enough to win that game against West Ham. We were leading 2-0, and I don't know what went wrong. The players took the foot off the accelerator, and we got knocked out. But that's what can happen in cup football. Nobody gets knocked out deliberately, but it can happen. And I just feel sometimes that this desire to win a cup, whilst it's well-intentioned, it could be all-consuming, and we've got to be careful what we wish for. We've got to continue progressing.
Yeah, Simon, I think it was Bill Nicholson that said, and we of Spurs have set our sights so very high, so high in fact that even failure will have an echo of glory. Pochettino almost has that as his mantra a little bit. We're not shooting for Carabao and FA Cups. We're shooting for Europe, and that's always been somewhat of the goal. Europe has been such a big deal for Tottenham, and it's such a riveting part of our history that maybe it is Europe that we want to shoot for, and our goals are set high. And if I'm Daniel Levy and looking at expectations, my expectations to Pochettino is simply this for this year: finish in the top 4 to open up the new stadium in Champions League. That's it. That's all I care about. Do you agree or no?
I think to a point, and Vass brought up the comparison to Ferguson. For 4 years before he won something, I know he was on the verge of getting sacked, and I think maybe I don't want to see Pochettino be in that position where he goes so long that he hasn't won anything, and we got to start all over again. I mean, he said he'd like to be here for life, and probably most managers would say that, but and again, as a fan, like Vass says, happy as a bunny to win something. And I think the longer this goes, things will start to unravel. And I don't know if the cracks are appearing right now. It's always easy to behave that way after a dismal performance. And let's face it, we've had 2 dismal performances back to back over the weekends. And we got a lot of fixtures coming up. So I'm starting to see some reasons to question what's going on. And granted, we're up against a season where we performed really, really well. I brought it up before. You only have to look at how we did after Christmas in what was it, 19 wins, 2 draws, no losses in the league. And so it's concerning that we've got to go up against ourselves if we're comparing how we're going to do in the league, and I think it's going to be very, very hard the back half of the season.
I totally agree with you. That's got to be the expectation. If fans are going to bemoan not getting a trophy, this year, not getting top 4 would probably put some people over the top. I think it's imperative.
We have to finish top 4, Ken. I mean, if we only have qualified now, first time ever, back to back. So that's 2 seasons. Now, if we don't get that 3rd season, it's almost like starting over. we got to show that finishing above the Gooners, let's say last season, wasn't a flash in the pan, because that's what we will be hit with if we finish below them and out of the Champions League places. We've got to solidify our presence in Champions